Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to this. I'm going to. This is our third one actually. After it was a very big round, the loneliness and isolation round, and it was kind of the first round where we really had our new impact framework put in, which is why there's sort of more outcomes and indicators and things like that. And because it's the first round, we haven't got everything totally right. So sorry about that. And we're going to just work through it very quickly. What I've done actually, I've got in the background, I'm going to share my screen in a minute, and in the background I've got all your monitoring forms on my screen. If any of you have any real problems with me sharing it, let me know. I mean, no one will be able to see anything that's useful, but let me know. And if you want me to share it for any particular reason, i.e. you've got a particular question, I can do that very easily. I've put you all on mute, but there aren't that many of you. There's only 10 or so. So if you have a question, I don't mind if you unmute yourself and just shout, or you can type in the chat box, or stick your hand up, whatever you like. Okay. Actually, Sandra, seems you're sort of my neighbour, in that you're not far away. Can I use your monitoring form as a good example? Good.
Yes, you can.
Good. Let me, now I need to remember how to share screen. Share screen. Screen. Okay, can you all see that? Give me a thumbs up, somebody. Yeah, good. So this is waste to taste monitoring form. I'm going to skip fairly quickly through it because half of it's filled in by because it's the same as your application form. First bit that comes is the person completing this form, which is the first bit you need to fill in. I know that there are some people who didn't necessarily, even on this call, who didn't actually fill in the application form, which is a good thing, because I think that sometimes fundraisers fill in the forms with lots of things that they think we as a funder want to hear, and are not necessarily the things that can be delivered very easily by the people who are actually going to do the job. And I think that quite often, especially in slightly larger groups, the person who's going to be filling in the monitoring form is going to be a different person to the person who's been filled in the application form. And so please use this to put in the person who's actually filling it out, if it is a different person. That's that. Budget. Part of the reason I picked on Sandra is because this was a project that we nearly fully funded, but not quite. So you'll be able to see that it's under here where it says requested was 9596, and we only managed to do 9446. We ran out of money. Sorry, Sandra. What's actually happened here is Annette, wonderfully in the background, has put where we've approved the money. So you'll notice that this is £30 short there, £20 short there, and £100 short there. So when reporting on it, what you'll find is that the actual amount will need to match the amount approved, really. And the budgeted amount will need to match the amount you've applied for. If they don't all add up, it sometimes does. It sometimes kind of stops you. If it is a problem and you get stuck on it, give us a call and we can usually figure out why it's gone wrong. But it's usually okay. One other thing is if you put things like a pound sign in there, it won't work, or commas. So if it's £1,000, don't put in £9,446, whatever. It will freak out and won't allow you to submit it. Other than that, so each line has its thing. So you obviously pick a thing, staff costs, put the description of whatever it is, what the budgeted amount was, and how much you actually did spend, and that's that. So if I just do an example, then you can see it totes it all up here as we're going along. And then you add an item and on you go for each line. Now that's that. I'm going to delete it just so I haven't done your form incorrectly for you. So the next bit, has the grant fully been spent? You know, obviously just be honest, and if it hasn't, then we can work out why or whether we need to extend it, etc. The rest of this, I think, is pretty much self-explanatory, and you can fill it in as you want. The next bit, this is part of these next 2 or 3 bits are part of the new impact framework. So the issue is it tells you what you asked on the what you answered on the website, on the application form rather, both for the issues and the activities that you're undertaking. I suspect that most normally your what you're going to do on the monitoring form is going to match what you did on the application form. But if it is different, don't worry about it. Be honest rather than not. And if it's very, very different, then give us a call and just make sure that it's all right if you're spending the money in a very, very different way to how it was funded. But that very rarely happens, and it very rarely happens that we're not happy with it. Beneficiaries, again, this is same thing, and this is really where we get into a bit of the demographics thing, and this is partly for us to be able to understand our equality and diversity of our funding. So if you can answer these questions, please do. But we are, I forgot to do my preamble bit about this. We're very much, it needs to be, proportional. And we recognise that obviously smaller groups do not record the percentage of people who walk through their doors who are non-binary and things like that. They might not ask the question, and that's absolutely fine. We're not looking for you to lie about it. However, if you do collect that information, then we would like to know. I think it's worth saying on ethnicities as well that we do recognise that Oxfordshire generally is predominantly white. So your primary beneficiary is probably most likely, except for in various areas of Oxford, is most likely to be white, and that doesn't count against you in any way. It doesn't. We recognise that you're open to all, because if you weren't, we wouldn't be funding you in the first place. But try and get an idea of what the primary ethnicity is. So that may be white, or it may be not, and then choose a secondary one as well to show that you are, if other people are coming. Or it might be, can you do it actually? Sorry, I'm going to just check something. That's a bit annoying. You can't do all ethnicities and another ethnicity. I don't know why they changed that in the system. Sorry about that. But you can do all ethnicities, the primary ethnicity, if you are getting a really mixed bunch. Genders is the only one where for some reason we can do percentages. We don't have enough storage space to do percentages of everything. So that's why this one has percentages. If you do record it, brilliant. If you don't, it's not. It's fine. And likewise, sexual identities. I believe this is within this round. We included this category because there was that people of their alternative sexual identities often do feel loneliness, and so that was in there for groups for LGBTQ plus groups who would want to choose that. Main reason for this is is to the outcomes and indicators. Now, this is, as I said, is something that we're learning from as well. A quick thing about that there are sort of 3 things. I'm sure you probably all know this, but there's sort of the outputs, the outcomes, and the indicators. The outputs are what you do. So, i.e., we're going to hold a lunch club. That's an output. The outcome will be people feel less lonely, and the indicator of that would be that 10 people have told us they feel less lonely. So I think that's kind of how it works. What we did do, we put, and I think this goes back to what I was talking about, how sometimes fundraisers are different to the people who deliver the project, and sometimes they feel that we would like to see you select as many outcomes and indicators as possible. That isn't actually the case, but we didn't say that. So lots of people, Sandra included here, we've selected 3 outcomes, and about, there you go, 5 indicators for each. Now I think that sort of number of people reporting improved social networks, number of people reporting increased self-esteem and confidence, number of people feel, and so on and so forth. Number of reporting kind of means that you've actually got them to, they need to either be telling you or answering a survey or something along those kind of lines in terms of doing it. I don't think that we would expect, or anyone else would expect, you to do a survey with all 4 of those questions so that you can put different numbers on them. I think that we recognise that maybe what we should have made clearer is really to select indicators or rather than select all 4 of them. And so I think when filling this in, I would strongly suggest that you maybe only fill in 1 or 2. I would probably suggest in this case that I would pick one of these top 4, probably seeing as the loneliness around the number of people reporting that they feel less lonely, and then maybe this one, the number of people using community facilities, which is probably just going to be your head count of people who come in. And I think that those 2 would be more than enough, because I think that the other 3 are kind of repeating. And from my statistical point of view, I think that it's more than likely that if you put 15 people in each of these, it might well be the same 15 people. So I wouldn't want to be double counting. Does that make sense to everyone? So in your comments and evidence, obviously just say not applicable, see below or whatever, but at least fill 1 or 2. If you've collected the information and you have then please share it with us, but don't feel beholden that you've got to fill in all of this absolutely accurately. And likewise for each of the subsequent outcomes as well. I mean, reduced levels of loneliness for individual people and improved mental health and well-being are very similar.
Simon, can I just interrupt? Karen has got a question relating to what you've just been saying about whether or not we need to upload surveys or an example.
It would be very nice to have one. And I think that, if you can put that in the comments and evidence that you said we ran a survey, see attached, and there is room to attach documents at the bottom, it would be very nice. But you certainly don't have to. In fact, I'd rather you probably didn't attach. If you end up giving a survey to 50 people and 50 people return it, I'd rather you didn't include all 50.
But maybe the results of the survey or something, saying
absolutely,
how many responded and all of that kind of thing.
Yes, because I think that's another point. I think if you're using surveys, I don't know how many people we've got in where are we? Sorry. Number of beneficiaries. I've lost the part where it says number of beneficiaries in total. Where is it gone? That's odd. That's a bit worrying. Might just be blind. There we are. How many people have directly benefited from the work funded? If, for instance, that was put in as 100, but then you only had 50 surveys back, or the number of people who reported increased self-esteem and confidence was 10, we might think, oh dear, that's a bit bad. But if it's actually that only 10 people answered the survey, then obviously that would be the reason why. So yes, I'd include the results of the survey and an explanation of how many people actually did it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, So I think that's really about it. As far as last thing, actually, sorry, is that I didn't mention is the back to the budget. Is we don't really ask for receipts very much. However, we would like to have some for anything that's major. So not, if you're buying tea bags or whatever for tea and things like that, no. But if you're, and obviously we can't see wages. We're not going to ask for loads of wage slips or anything. However, you might want to, if you want to attach a sort of management accounts at the bottom that shows how much you spent on staff, that's cool. If you buy a laptop or something like that, then that might be quite nice, a big capital project. Or if you're hiring a coach and it costs a lot of money, it'd be nice to see a receipt for that. It also helps us where if you're spending too much money, we might be able to suggest a place you can get it cheaper. And if you're spending very little money on it, we might want to ask you how to get in touch with you and pass the information on to other people. Other thing that I always forget to say, I mean to say at the beginning, and I always end up saying it at the end, is please, start this when you start your project, and it's easier to fill it in as you go along. There is a button at the bottom that is save as draft. So anything you put in, you can save it as a draft and come back. I've had it with a few, grant applications that, we send after we funded them, we sent them the monitoring form, 6 months later or even a year later when they get to the end of their project, and they can't really remember what went on at the beginning. And it's hard to fill. So I strongly recommend filling it as you go along. And I think it's also particularly good, the attachments there, to attach anything you want, photos, whatever, feedback forms, as you said, case studies, etc. And I think that if you may get an excellent case study in your first week, and then by the time you get to the end of the project, you've forgotten it. Attach as you go along, save as you go along, and then submit when you're finished. Right, that's it. I've done it even quicker this time. So now we've got plenty of time for any questions, and I'll try to answer them. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Wow. Okay, well, that's about it. Last thing actually got to say is as well, we have got more grants rounds available. There you go. Hey. So please, have a look at those and apply if you want. I'm particularly keen to get people. We always get an awful lot of people who apply for mental health based grants, but we always get less people on physical health. So anyone who would like to apply for Healthy Hearts, I'd love to see it.
Simon, Gemma's got a question.
Oh, hello, Gemma.
Yeah. Hi, sorry, we had a question. We're not the ones, our fundraisers did the grant for us. We're just wondering when the year timer started. Is that from when we first start spending the money, or is that from when the grant was accepted, or when does the clock start, if that makes sense?
The clock kind of starts whenever they put, it usually starts, I mean, we're fairly flexible on it, so it usually starts once the money's in your account. Okay. But yeah, I mean, we when you started the project,
yeah.
But we would expect you to start the project, fairly soon after we paid you.
Yeah. We're just sort of checking because, just wanted to make sure, just so we know how to plan ahead, kind of thing. But that's good to know. Great, thank you. No
problem. So yes, anyway, Healthy Hearts and Jubilee Fund. Please apply. Jubilee Fund plans to be sort of arts projects for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. I noticed it was on the news last night, so there you go. It's relevant. Street parties and all the rest. And Healthy Hearts, we're particularly interested in people, or this is money from public health, so particularly interested in people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, older people, not as in very old people, but people about as old as me, men in particular, and BAME communities in particular, who are all at higher risk of heart disease. And it also, some of the money comes from the stop smoking side of things. So if you want a small grant, which is to involve with making your whole business and area a non-smoking area, they would probably be very happy to see that as well. There you go, that's a bonus for the afternoon. And if you go on that, on the website and click on Healthy Hearts, there is actually a webinar on Friday. Again, should only be half an hour, where I'll have public health alongside me, and we can talk in a bit more detail about what they're looking for, and you can ask questions about whether what you're thinking of is suitable or not.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Karen, yes.
Will there be some sort of interim monitoring or interim checking in with you through the year at all? Do you require that, or would you like us to do that? No,
we don't require it, but yes, we would love it. Especially our marketing team are very happy if they see any case studies, any bits of things, that it's lovely content for them, and it's great, and it's also great for us to give to any of our funders as well, to see that they're spending their money's being well spent. So please, if you have a joyous moment, definitely send us it through. It's great fun.
yeah, will do. Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right, well, I shall wish you all a very good afternoon, and see you soon.
Thank you for coming.